It is time, 7 o'clock, and welcome all to tonight's Village Council regular session. Today's Monday, September 18, 2023. I'll call this meeting to order and ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you all for joining us tonight. We'll just take a quick moment of silence for all those that desire. And Christian, if you would, please do a roll call.
Trustee Fields.
Here.
Trustee Holmes.
Here.
Trustee Reister.
Here.
Trustee Wagner.
Here.
Trustee Olson.
Here.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Here.
President Frisbee.
Here. Oh, here, and welcome back from a long extended summer break. We have an agenda in front of us tonight. To understand, we want to add a action item for the council for the fire board audit. Would we want to put that at 10E? Mr. Mallory, are there any other changes or?
Just on the amount reference, item 10B, boy, has an amount of $36,000. It's actually, in documentation put in front of the council, is not to exceed $58,000. I stopped short at just the sign purchase and forgot it takes electricity, power, building the base, all of those things. So, but I'll go in more detail on 10B. Just want the council to know that amount's changed and why.
Thank you, Jim. Any other action items the council would like to address on here? So hearing none,
We do have an additional request on an event that was turned in today, and we won't have a meeting for it. It's reference the K Aces Summer League Finals. It's out at the disc golf course. It would be on September 30th at the disc golf course, and Larry LeBond, who handles a couple other organized tournaments out there, has put in that request. So that would fall under the general consent agenda for approval of that group reserving the disc golf course for that final event of their summer-long league program.
President Frisbee?
Yes, sir.
I assume, Jim, that on event requests, number 1, it should be Brian Baker.
Yes, Brian Baker.
Thank you. There's no other changes. I move as amended.
Trustee Wagner, I support.
Motion made by trustee Keller, support by trustee Wagner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same. Motion carries. We have an agenda in front of us. We do have scheduled appearances tonight. So we'd love to hear from Ms. Susan Colloward. And Jim would like to,
Wendy or Trustee Fields is going to do an introduction, I believe. Are you not?
excellent.
Your preference.
Okay. This was the second year for the Vicksburg Parks and Rec hosted the movie nights in the
Susan?
park.
But you don't get out of this. You're going to come up to
You're gonna
this
come.
podium because we need to see in the pre-positioned camera locations to put a face against that incredible work.
Okay. This was our second year for movie night in the park, and it was a great summer for that event. One of the things that makes these events so successful is the support that we receive from the community. This year, we were fortunate to have many great supporters, and tonight we would like to recognize one in particular. Susan Calloward is the Children's Director at the Vicksburg Community Library. When she was first approached by Parks and Rec about partnering with us for these events, she did not hesitate. Susan set up a table at every movie night. She engaged the kids with questions, conversation, provided information, and always had movie-themed handouts, which were wonderful. In addition to her participation in the movie night events, Susan also held Monday morning children's reading events in Clark Park. One of the goals of the Vicksburg Parks and Rec is to promote awareness of all of the wonderful parks that we have in Vicksburg, and I can't think of a better way to introduce people to our parks than holding a weekly story hour for children. When I knew that I would be the person introducing you tonight, I thought it would be nice to have a quote, so I Googled quotes about librarians. The first one that popped up was, "Librarians are like better, nicer versions of Google," which was perfect. But it was actually the next quote by our David Lynx that caught my eye. "To be a librarian is not to be neutral or passive or waiting for a question. It is to be a radical, positive change agent within your community." On behalf of the Parks and Rec and the Vicksburg Council, thank you for your incredible work and your continued support of our community. We appreciate you very much.
Could not have done it without you. I have to really thank the village so much for your support this year. What a great way to get started in the program. I did want to give you a little thank you here, just to highlight. Sometimes, you know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I thought a few pictures would be worth a few thousand words so I can make my speech. But just some pictures of our family story time in the park. Our movie nights were so successful. I think what an awesome job you guys are doing by supporting the community for a safe family event. Love participating in that. You guys didn't hesitate, and I wanted to also thank Christian for, you know, being able to help us out when I asked, you know, can we have a place? I want to do a Touch a Truck event. What can we do? Right there to help us out with the historic village. So it was wonderful. So really couldn't do it without your support. Thank you all so very much. And I do want to beg your indulgence for a minute because I have a huge announcement, and you guys are actually the very first group to hear this publicly. May I?
Yes, please do.
I'm so excited, I can't tell you. I'm just bursting because this all came together this morning. So I thought, what a perfect venue to give this information out. So as some of you may know, we're working in conjunction, the Vicksburg Library, with the Cultural Arts Center and Gilbert and Ivy Bookstore. And we're putting on a series of different Indigenous events in the community to celebrate some of our unrecognized members of our community. And so this is all coming together in October. One of the things we're going to be doing is we are already partners with Michigan Reads. We wrote a grant and became a partner as well as the Cultural Arts Center. So we're going to be I'm hosting a series of teen book clubs, and I have flyers for everyone. I'd love to have anybody you know as a teen that would be interested in reading this great book, and I'll tell you about it in a second, Firekeeper's Daughter. New York Times bestseller, has won a zillion young adult award-winning things. She is a Michigan author, and she is a Native American. She's also written about, the protagonist is a Native American woman. Great book, zillions of awards. So we're having a book club for teens, and then Laura, our circulation librarian, is also hosting an adult book club. So we have 2 book clubs going. There's a series of them. Anybody that participates, because we were awarded a Michigan Read grant, we have a copy of the book for any participating members of the book club. So that in itself is a wonderful thing, but here's the icing on the cake. We just found out that we have a contract with the author, Angeline Bolee, to come to Vicksburg.
Oh, that's
This wonderfully recognized author. So that's going to be happening in October. We'll be hosting that at the PAC. And so we're just thrilled about that. And the Michigan Reads was a book that was chosen for all of Michigan libraries and schools to read. So you can read all about it, and we'll have lots of information posted on the library. But I'm so thrilled that we just found out that we have her hosted. And this is through a lot of grants. And I got to say a lot of kudos to Sid Bastos over at the Cultural Arts Center, and also Kim Mayer from Gilbert and Ivy, because we've been working in conjunction to make this happen. So there's a lot of things happening, but it's going to be great for Vicksburg. I'm really excited. Yeah. So that's all I have, and I will be glad to pass out
Thank
some
you.
flyers.
Thank you.
Send teams my way.
Can I confess my nervousness when she said she had great news? I recalled another person that we recognized at the start of a council meeting talking about great news, and it was that they had accepted a job for another day. If we were gonna go 2 for 2, I was gonna suggest we stop calling in people. Susan, on behalf of staff, really thank you a ton. We took a lot of positive calls on that, so thanks very much for everything you do.
No, we thank you, Susan, absolutely. I've heard nothing but phenomenal things about what you're doing with that program, so I know Gail has rambled endlessly about your, and as does Mrs. Susan Frisbee. She thinks the world of you. You know, she's a intervention reading specialist, and she just loves reading. I've seen this book on her tabletop for a little while. She's been reading it recently, so. But she speaks very highly of you as well, so I appreciate everything you're doing for the village and the young group, the young teens here.
Second book, this was her debut novel. Her second book was instant New York Times bestseller, Warrior Leonard.
Wonderful.
Author was
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. So thank you again for everything you're doing for this community, Susan. We have no other officials tonight. This is time for citizens' comments for agenda items only. If there's anybody who wish to step forward and talk now. Seeing none, we'll move on. We have the general consent agenda, our regular meeting minutes, our warrant reports, event request, Pavilion Celebration of Life for Brian Baker, the Vicksburg Pavilion Cultural Arts, Destination Indigenous Nation, and Sunset Lake Park for a Veterans Day celebration. There we go. Excuse me, it's right there. The K-Aces final September 30th at Disc Golf. Anyone?
Move to approve.
Wagner, I support.
Motion made by trustee Keller, seconded by trustee Wagner. We'll do a roll call, please. Christian?
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Reister, trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Fields, President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, motion carries. So we have some action items in front of us tonight, and I'll let Jim speak to them, but the first one is for a 2009 full-size dump truck.
Yes, this is, we did it, I think, 3 years ago, had an opportunity, approach the city of Kalamazoo, and they were, it's a 2009 unit that they were gonna rotate out of their fleet, and prior to auction, talked to James Baker up there, and through the city manager's office, Mr. Ritzema, they have graciously offered this unit up for $20,000. It has a new salter on it. That's why it's a little bit more than what we got the last unit, but it replaces a 2000, and it's a snow plow, one of the bigger snow plow dump trucks. Brand new, it would be $190,000. So we'll take possession of that here in October upon your approval. We'll evaluate tires, that type of thing. We might have additional expenses like we did on the last one, but certainly will be an upgrade to the fleet. Ultimately, in the next year, we might put a brand-new box on like we did the last one that then could predictably last this village another 15 to 20 years. So, but to get this unit, we're very fortunate, and seeking council's motion, support, and approval for $20,000 to purchase this unit from the city of Kalamazoo.
Move to approve.
Reister, support.
So we have a motion to support. We have some discussion before we vote. Anyone would like to ask some questions?
I just have a quick question. Is this replacing one, or is this an additional one?
No, we're gonna not replace we'll have two in reserve now instead of three. We'll also have an option sometimes in more prolonged snow events to put a third unit out on the roadway to focus on, non-main roads. So we are not gonna rotate one out as our plans as we sit right now.
Jim, have you had a chance to, has somebody had a chance to check this out? Just cursory?
The vehicle, yes.
It's got a plow blade, actually, blades on it already.
And a new Salter.
Yeah, well, the blades aren't cheap either, so I think seems to be a pretty good deal, and the city has been doing us right, for sure. Any other questions, comments?
I'd just like to comment and point out for folks that might not be reading the agenda as well as the funds are already identified in the CIP for previous savings, so these are no new expenses we're going to be making.
Yeah,
is
this
well
will
within
be money
the
that's
plan.
been saved. It's not $24 at all.
Well, we have a motion by President Pro Tem Keller, second by Trustee Reister. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Fields, Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. We have a digital sign. Jim, you want to?
Yes, this is the change, if you will, at the start of the meeting was just in the amount. We had approved in the 23-24 fiscal year, totality, we had budgeted, I believe the number was $75,000 or $77,000 for the digital sign for the new municipal building. We went through a formal bid procedure. We received 3 quotes from companies, and the totality of those quotes with a 10% contingency is $57,891.61. So asking council for approval to enter the contracts to have the sign built and in place when the new municipal building for an amount not to exceed $58,000. In the breakdown of those costs, the actual digital display sign was a little under $36,000. And then there, we delineated the cost of getting power to the building, building the base of the sign and et cetera. So we're happy that it came in about $20,000 than we originally estimated.
Do I have a motion to approve, or anyone?
Trustee Wagner, I move to approve as submit.
Trustee Fields, support?
President Frisbee, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Jim, just out of curiosity, is this the scale, the picture? You see the people next to it, I'm just curious. Or-
I don't think it's to scale the,
It says 3 by 6,
yeah, that's the, digital display is 3 feet by 6 feet 9, or 3 feet by 6 feet. The density of the pixels is 9 millimeters. The actual constructed is 88 inches wide, or it's at 7 feet by 9 feet tall.
That's nice. Just to share a thought with. The first time I actually ever saw one of these when I was on vacation last year in Pentwater, and I took a video of it and sent it to President Frisbee and to Jim, and just for fun, actually. But by the same time, I would started thinking about it. It's an incredible way to communicate with people in your community, especially Richardson Street, one of the most highly trafficked streets that we have in the community. The ability for people to drive by, and when I was in Pentwater, that really what caught my eye was it said master plan. We would like your participation, and it was showing all the events that were going on. So, I think this is a great idea. And it has my support, Jim.
Yeah, he answered my question, but in the back page, it's got a image of what it'll look like, so. So we have a motion by trustee Wagner and support by trustee Fields. If barring any further questions or comments, we'll do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Fields, trustee Reister,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. Oh. We'll move on to 10C, Angels Crossing Golf Cart Lease Agreement.
Yes, this is an updated 3-year lease. We went through a bid. We did receive 2 bids. There's 2 main golf cart companies. There is a third company potentially, but they did not bid, and it's probably not the product we would have at Angels. But we did receive the 2 main companies' bids. We are recommending a motion, support, and approval for the village manager to enter into a contract with U.S. Club Cars for an amount not to exceed $75,600. That's per year, but it is a 3-year agreement, and that is for with the GPS system in it.
President Frisbee, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Um,
If you'd like to make a motion,
Oh,
anyone?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the renewal of the golf cart lease not to exceed $75,600.
Trustee Wagner, I'll support.
Certainly open it up for discussion,
Okay,
sir.
all right, thanks. Jim, just one question, that is 3-year lease. We know the golf course, if we so choose so, can be sold sometime in the future. And I'm just curious, a 3-year lease, is there any potential issues that would, in signing the 3-year lease and realizing that there is that possibility in the future that the golf course be sold?
Any potential, I'm thinking I should choose words, but we haven't put the golf course for sale, so any asset of the property the village owns would become a negotiating point of any entity, so it's not something I'm concerned with.
So the terms and conditions of this agreement is transferable to the potential owner then, is what it would be? I'm just,
If there is a potential owner, which I'm going to emphasize if, I have nothing in front of me reference the sale of the golf course. So the golf cart leases come in 3 or 5-year options to lease. We requested bids for 3 years, and on any, I don't think that would, I'm not concerned about it.
okay. The last part's the most important part, okay.
Jim, is this the same company that we are with right now?
Yes, it is. It'll be a brand, it's not the same golf cart that we currently have through this company under lease. It will be a brand-new golf cart. And as well, within this lease agreement is a maintenance agreement, that there's an upgrade in the maintenance agreement to the current lease we're under.
Thank you.
So,
I'd just like to say that if it's the same style of cart that we've been having, that from my playing at the course this year, I've been exceptionally satisfied with the quality of cart we've had. I mean, the seating and everything else is just, it's excellent. I mean, it helps to portray what we want that golf course to look like, and it feels a level above with the golf carts. So I like continuing down that road.
yeah, we're comfortable with this selection.
They don't go through tall grass very well, though, I will say that.
So we just,
Might bring Mr. Keller, you know, that GPS system tracks those golf carts.
works
And
well,
I
I
could
will
put it
say
right up
that.
there
It
and you
works
guys could
very
watch his
well.
entire round of golf before it was impacted by rain.
Those figure eights are documented.
And before anyone calls and asks, Mr. Keller paid for that round of golf, so.
So I did.
All right, so we have a request to, from the staff and then Angels Crossing to move into a competitive three-year bid, three-year lease agreement, not to exceed $75,600. So we have a motion made by trustee Holmes, support by trustee Wagner. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Fields, trustee Holmes,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. So we have a couple of nominations tonight. I'd like to ask for your support, and I'm pretty excited about both of them, but specifically with our Planning Commission and DDA with Mr. Colin Bailey. I'd like to nominate him. He was agreed to come on and do this. So I put that in front of you. What are your thoughts?
I think that Colin has been a demonstrated and dedicated public servant to the village, so looking forward to getting him back in the fold.
I think Colin is an excellent choice, and I knew he'd be back, so he couldn't stay away.
So let's go ahead and just ask for each one of them. I'll ask for Colin Bailey's appointment to the Planning Commission.
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by trustee Keller, motion support by trustee Wagner. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same, thank you. And Benjamin Gother, he's a longtime village resident, lives over on Mill. Cute little, nice little house on that street. It looks beautiful, and he's been wanting to get more involved with the village. He's asked on a couple of different occasions, and this one I think just really fits a bill well for him. So I'd like to offer him up as an appointee for the Parks and Rec Committee to replace our most recently lost member.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, so we have a motion by trustee Field, support by trustee Reister. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. I'll let them both know in the morning. Appreciate that. And I'll let President Pro Tem Keller speak a little bit about the fire board audit.
Thank you, President Frisbee. This was an annual audit that the fire authority has done, similar to what we have done for the village. And we actually, this came back, and because of our meeting times, we met, I think, after the fire board met last month, and we hadn't officially accepted the audit. I know staff has reviewed it. I spoke with Jim this morning. They didn't have any major concerns of the audit. There were no, I don't believe there was any, what's your term you use? Comments?
Just a standard one, because they don't have it's a standard one, because I think, because the people doing the audit prepare the financial statements, so they have to disclose, they're the ones who prepare the financial
Right.
statements.
Siegfried Crandall does the statements, and they also do the audit. So it's been the standard comment that's been made for X number of years. But I did talk with Jim this morning, because I reminded him, I said, hey, we've got to vote to accept that, because we have a fire board meeting Wednesday night. So Schoolcraft and Vicksburg were the only two entities that had not accepted the audit yet. So they need to get that so they can close their year out, similar to what we do. So anyways, so having said that, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the audit that was presented on the fiscal year 2022, 2023 for the South County Fire Authority.
Support.
Yeah, motion is made by President Pro Tem Keller and support by trustee Reister. We need to do we do a roll call? Yes, please. Monies.
Is there any questions from anybody on this? It's pretty boilerplate. I mean, like I said, I sent it to staff a month ago, and they reviewed it, and he didn't have any concerns with it, so.
I have the audit up if someone, but I didn't have anything that was noteworthy at all. It's going in a good direction.
Would you take a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Fields,
Yes?
trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you for doing that. So it moves us to our manager's report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Frisbee. There'll be a couple things that I add at the end, but wanted to bring the council in on a couple things. Nothing is action items, but certainly a lot has been going on behind the scenes now for, in some cases, 4, 6, 8, 10 months on some economic development in the village. And we anticipate as a staff in the months of October, November, and December, formal actionable items coming in front of the Planning Commission and Village Council, starting with a formal site plan review of 215 East Prairie Street, which is on the northwest corner of Prairie and Richardson. It is been an undeveloped site now for, I think, 30-plus years. Those with the memory, used to be a lumber yard here in Vicksburg. So exciting to put a development together on that. It involves a Big B Coffee franchise on that corner. But again, it's not any formal action review. We have meetings here in the next couple weeks with McKenna Associates, reference to zoning. Catherine Kaufman and our engineers are involved to ensure that everything is met, but wanted to bring it in front of the council and give the tentative plans. I can tell you the plans that you have in front of you, we will be discussing the entry points into that lot, and I anticipate that those will be changed, but still waiting on the developer for soil boring test and stormwater calculations, that type of thing, but wanted it to bring it to your attention and can answer questions in a limited fashion, ones that.
I do have a question. I thought that the bank owned that property. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And they have, what are they going to be doing, leasing then?
No, they would be, there's a purchase agreement contingent on the approval of the development proposed.
Thank you.
I have a question. It's
Yes.
questions, yeah. Jim, is there any consideration of putting a traffic light on that corner?
At this point, we have not had conversations that could come up. We're right now focused on the options of the entry-exit points, but I
Okay.
can certainly bring that up in meetings with the engineers and it's their traffic engineers that are looking at all this.
Right. Well, my problem is that's a busy corner, and with the entrance to the middle school being right there, Monday mornings, weekday mornings at 8 o'clock, that's O'Hare International there, and I hear more complaints about that intersection. So, do you know if they're planning on putting a fence along the back barrier?
Yes, there's, on the north and west sides, there will be barriers placed.
Okay.
When the final design, that will go through the process of evaluation. So as I sit here now, I, to memory, don't know if they proposed a fence, but part of our regulations would be there'd be a barrier between the properties. There was a lot line adjustment that needed to take place with one house to the north, and that was resolved here in the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So that lot line was adjusted to make,
Do you know where the property line is at for the automotive garage?
it's the wall of the building.
It is the wall of the building. Okay. I know that Dave's talking about painting it, so.
Yep.
There was even discussion at one point of getting high school students to come over and do a mural on that wall.
It'd be
So,
cool.
Yeah, but I guess the fence and exit, my concern too on the exit is if it's gonna come out there and turn from Richardson onto Prairie, are they gonna be allowed to make a left turn? That's a concern, especially with
Yeah,
that
that's
corner.
all being discussed, and there's,
Okay.
we'll follow, some of the village formal oversight stands mute, but we will defer to road commission's recommendation under their policies of, for appropriate egress and exits out of,
Yeah.
out of the property line.
Yeah, yeah, that's, that, my biggest fear is an accident there.
No,
Public
absolutely.
safety, yeah, and especially with the school, entrance right there. It's a good, bad position for that entrance.
No,
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And
Trustee Olson, just to share with you, at last week's planning commission meeting, when Jim did kind of update us on this as well, that was actually the discussion we're having here. It's really interesting. A week ago, it's a conversation that happened at the planning commission as well. Myself and another council member just talked with Jim, and Jim definitely heard it. And I think actually it's some of the reasons why he's mentioning the possibility of some changes with the site plan, is that he's already, I think, very proactively getting involved in this. So I don't disagree with anything that's being said. If you really think about it, we have the east side of the village. In order to get to downtown, where do you go? You got to go across Richardson.
Right.
And it's my understanding that actually that is the heaviest trafficked area within the village. So the idea that we're putting a business whose sole purpose is to have drive-through traffic and on a corner of one of the busiest, areas of our village, I think serious consideration needs to be given. So but I think Jim heard last week, and I would hope he's hearing this.
Well, the car traffic is bad enough, but when you start getting semi-trucks, dump trucks coming down through there, and I sat at the light the other day and watched as one made a right-hand turn onto Prairie Street, and he took both lanes and clear over to the far curb to make that turn. That rig was way too big. He should have, if anything, gone straight up Kalamazoo Avenue there, and then came out by the railroad track.
we have put the truck route to continue north. It's just out of habit, or people.
Yeah,
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 there's two
it's-
signs to indicate continue north on Kalamazoo, but
okay, that's my concerns. Thank you.
yeah, and I'll report back, but they're on the radar and been formally actually addressed. We're just waiting for developers, engineers for the alternatives.
If I could, just one more thing too, kind of on what Denny's already talked about, because it was just a couple years ago that I was one of those parents dropping off at the middle school. So there's a lot of traffic there throughout the day, but that time frame about 7:15 to 7:40, I always used to feel really bad for people that weren't part of that drop-off line, because that takes up back, yeah, Carl. And so just that little half hour window, definitely. Now, that said, I like Big B, so if I don't have to drive to Schoolcraft,
Yeah, and that could be part of the discussion as well, is to flip it back and ask the schools that entry exit point is for buses only, and parents drop off, come the back way through the VAB.
See, that's
And that, which takes a lot more of that traffic away from there, and the bus drivers are more trained for that type of entry exit point, but I have not had any conversations with the school, and my comments don't mean to.
I'm sorry, but
Thinking out
I'm
loud
trying
here.
to figure out why we're paying for school buses if the parents are dropping the kids off all the time. Yeah, yeah. So,
I'd just like to make a comment that it's extremely heartening to see a business like this take an opportunity to move into our village. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're trying to make sure that it's done, of course, in the safest manner possible, but we're talking about an undeveloped lot of over 30 years, and to have the village moving in a direction that they've approached us, where would be good to put it, we feel pretty good.
President Frisbee, just a quick comment. Just to remind my fellow trustees that we actually already have, there'll be 3 cafes in Vicksburg when this opens. We have Mezzanine, and Paul is talking about doing something at Apple Knockers, bringing Windfall down there. And then,
Yeah.
if you're not aware, Silo Chic is actually putting an espresso counter.
I heard that.
And is partnering with Something's Brewing, which is, yeah, from downtown Kalamazoo. And so, yeah, and so we're gonna go from, minimal to 4 here real quick, like, so it's,
Don't forget the rise and dine.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's where we get our coffee, right?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I was clarified on was that they're all walk-in type businesses where this is a drive-in. My honest opinion is this is not what I envisioned for that corner in the village. But if they meet all the requirements and codes and, so be it, but.
See, we should have put a parking lot there, Jim. Yeah, yeah. Well, we can pay them, charge them to park, put meters.
No, I don't think we can do that. No. No, we open up a can of worms.
Yeah.
We don't need to vote on this.
No, this is just information that you'll see in future, and we'll certainly have the parameters of what decisions and criteria need to be made on once it is presented. But more good news is we have Legia Park industrial lot, the last one available. That will be proceeding through the Municipal Building Authority and ultimately through the council, but we anticipate very positive investment being made in that property, creating jobs and bringing continued economic success for the village here in the next, by the end of the year for certain, and potentially as early as October. Yes. So that's positive. We then have on the residential side will be the homestead at Centennial Development, which is between the Trillium neighborhood and Centennial neighborhood. That has always been built out. We're talking up to 122 new home sites. It is in the standard zoning R1 lot dimensions, so it's not condensed in any matter. That as well is looking at, with the sidewalks, ensuring our infrastructure is the best possible. That's all at the expense of the developer, and those conversations are taking place. But I just wanted to assure the council we have our team of engineers, attorneys, and zoning people involved in that. In fact, I think 10 o'clock tomorrow is the next team's meeting on that. But if you do hear conversations, that is going to move forward and be formally presented by the end of the year as well for 122 potential new homes in the village of Vicksburg. So moving on the residential front as well. If there's any questions on that.
Yeah, this may not be something you can discuss, but why is it that they're looking at us from a perspective of these small homes? Is there been any conversation with Alan Edwin about building an Applegate? Put in 40 homes versus 122, that they're gonna make the same amount of money on it that they would if they stuck in 40 homes, not 122 homes. I mean, it's great to see people investing in the village. I'm thrilled with that, but it concerns me that we're building these tiny little pop-up homes in our community. And
I am not going to speak on behalf of any developer of what they might perform as in the private sector, but I think one viewpoint can be as well is the need for affordable housing of all levels. And there's a intense effort in Kalamazoo County and Southwest Michigan to ensure there's affordable housing for people to live in. That could be a potential impact point. But again, on the scale of economics, of cost of new construction. That's out of my experience.
I have a question in the same realm. How much turnover is there in these homes, the cheaper homes and so forth? How much turnover is there?
Well,
That's a tough question.
yeah, and
I'm just
I don't know the turnover. I know the move in. I don't want to speak countering, but I look at it as a vernacular. It might be less expensive than what I don't know what is in everyone's mind as what would be a normal price point for a new construction home that's in market studies down to $1 per square foot. And this is over the course of this summer, real-time data, in the village of Vicksburg, homes under 300,000 were on the market about 3 days. So whatever the turnover is, I think we need to be focused on very fortunate that there are people want to move to Vicksburg. And those homes, in all of our homes, at all price points, are, I think, homes from 400,000 to 700,000 at one point was only like 14 days. So, and we've seen development in the village at all price points. I think in the last 2 years, out at the golf course on CB McDonald Way, and I might go back 3 years, but I think we're in excess of 20 new homes built on CB McDonald Way in 3 years. We're about 14 condos in the golf course. We obviously have I think it was phase 4 or phase 5 of Centennial, which was in excess of 100 homes built and occupied in that time frame, as well as the homes that are in the core village. I remember on Michigan Avenue, 2 different homes in the last year coming on the market, one home closing at $50,000 more than original list offer, and the second one was a more than list offer as well, in economic conditions that we hear on the news about interest rates and that. So I don't know the exact turnover rate. I do know the data would I believe demonstrate people's desire to move to Vicksburg for a multitude of reasons, I hope. Schools, Vicksburg offerings and that, so.
I'd just like to comment that, I mean, I live in Centennial adjacent to this property, currently farm field behind my house, which would be proposed as new homes. And I mean, again, to kind of my Bigby comment, I'm still heartened by the fact we have folks and developers interested in developing in our village, because it's crucial with the limited footprint and land available we have, particularly zoned and planned, to add families and to the village. And ultimately, I think the discussion of price point of homes might be a bit of a moot one, because as Jim said, it's about people actually wanting to live in our village, and whatever means it takes necessary to get them here. Those are folks that will be a part of our community and hopefully for generations. And not just homes on the tax roll, but that's a huge burden that can be lessened on things like our utilities and all those other sources of revenue that we have to better our village in that way, by adding all those to the tax rolls and then welcoming them to the community and seeing what's available. And as Jim has alluded to, I mean, there's still options here, but I think it's a great thing that we're going to have an opportunity to add more residents and welcome more folks to our community. Of course, seeing what everything rolls through with Planning Commission and all those, but I think at least on the nose, it's a pretty positive endeavor.
It's just a quick comment. Affordable housing is a serious concern of mine, and it's something that actually I was looking for the right opportunity to talk with this council about, and it looks like someone opened the door. So thank you. I don't know about you, but I was raised here. I've been here 50 years. My father was a paper worker. He raised 6 kids. My mom was a homemaker. Probably sounds like many of your homes, okay? Doesn't happen anymore. And so the reality is this working class community is no longer affordable to working class people. When you look at the houses and what they're going for nowadays in this community, it's insane. So for 145 years, housing prices were relatively consistent. And all of a sudden, in the last 4 years, we have these dramatic increases. Now, with that being said, I'm not going to sit here and preach what we should or shouldn't do, but the one thing I know that we can do is this, and that is I really think that we need to take a hard look at how many rentals we have in this community. Do we have profiteers coming in this community that are projecting that mill's going to open, so they're buying buildings that I almost bought for $65,000 15 years ago, one across the street just went for $340. Come on, folks. That doesn't make sense. I don't know about you, but in my home, that just doesn't make sense. And so for me, we have profiteering going on in this community. We have people coming in, they're buying low, what they think's low, and they're hoping to sell high. And I think that what would be very helpful is to know in our community, how many rentals do we have? How many have increased? Or how many people, do we have families buying these homes? Or do we have people that are building a portfolio of rental homes, whether it's a corporation or someone that I know that lives in a community that owns 85, 90 rental homes? And so again, I'm not going to disparage anybody for going out in our world and making a living for themselves, but I do think that what we need to do is look at those things we have control over. We can't control what houses someone puts in a field just as much as we can't tell the folks on that corner what building to put in that empty lot. What we can do, though, is that we can take a look at those things that are within our lane, our wheelhouse. And personally, I think that is something that I would love to see this council do, is to roll its sleeves up and say, what can we do to make things more affordable here? You know, we've gone round and round about water rates. We've discussed property rates. There's only so much we can do there, right? But what we can do, though, is we can look at something I think a little bit bigger, and for that, I'll just leave it at that. So thanks, guys.
I'd like
Thank
to
you.
chime
That's
in.
all very good discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in on that
Yes,
too. You know, it's buttoned up to my neighborhood too. And the house down by the cul-de-sac, or the roundabout, that thing backs right up to that field. And he's crammed on that lot. That's my big gripe, is that their Centennial, when it was first put in, you can stand there and reach out and touch your neighbors. And I'm sorry, that's just a little bit too close. I think we need to take a serious look at this, and I want to see comparison. I want to be able to walk into Centennial neighborhood and, okay, this is the type of house we're going to build, this is how far apart they're going to be, and I want a lot more information before this thing comes before this council for a vote. I talked to a lot of people this weekend down at the pavilion during our Vicksburg vintage market, and they are afraid that we are losing the Mayberry feel of this community. Their biggest fear is, okay, we're going to have this plat come in. How many families are coming in? How many kids are going to start going to our schools? You know, we got to take, at some point, this whole village has got to take a look at Sunset Elementary. And are we going to have to expand on that? I know for a fact that Sunset was designed to have a second story put on that building. So I know that's up to the school board and that, but it's up to all of us. We have to secure this community for the future. And my wife's afraid of the property values going up. Great, they go up. Hey, great, but so do the taxes. And that's a concern of everybody, especially the senior citizens. Traffic flow. You know, we get the people coming off of 22nd Street right now doing 40 mile an hour. The minute they hit B Avenue, they're still doing 40 mile an hour. If need be, I'll go to the county and ask the county to reduce that speed limit from 40 down to 25 within the village limit. But this is all stuff that's got to be considered, not just by the Planning Commission, but by all of us in this entire community. This is a major investment, and I agree to it. 122 homes? No, I can't see it. That's cramming too many.
I do know that the lot dimensions are the same as Trillium.
Okay.
It's not it's not the reduced dimensions that were in the Centennial original development.
Okay.
That I do know. But valid points, and all of it is good information that certainly when it is formally presented
Yep.
and helps us in the conversation with these developers. And I think as well, in all good points, I mean, on trustee Holmes' point, we're talking 30-day rental agreements. We're really talking an Airbnb issue versus having affordable rentals for long-term residents. We do have a draft ordinance, that would be an ordinance on that issue. It's already prepped on draft. That certainly would be the council's initiative to look at and support, adopt, modify, but to have formal rental inspections. That of course, if you're renting property, or there would be a fee to rent property, which would then pay for the inspections of the property to ensure that it is kept up well. To Trustee Olson's points of the impact of traffic and congestion, and again, I agree with those comments. The additional comments I would make are what we look at as staff and and when we started analyzing where to position Vicksburg in 5, 10, and 20 years from now, and we don't need to relive the past 8 years, but you've all heard the conversation of the investment on infrastructure, the ability to grow out the village, and that growth equals revenue to the village, which pushes off entropy in government. You don't have to look far in our area to find small municipal governments that I wonder where they'll be in 10 years. So that is part as well, and it is a balancing. I've had myself, I don't think it's a majority. I think majority of people in the interactions I get are extremely positive on Vicksburg, positive on the growth, positive on the direction that it's gone. I think, like anything else, it's at a word change. It's not what some are used to, and change is a verb, adjective, noun, something there in the English language that causes a reaction from people in different ways. And I assure and give this council my word that when these presentations come forward, you will have a team of experts in front of you to ask pointed questions and clarify direction of what you want, as well as receive kind of that overall guidance of here's the parameters you need to make this decision within, and that. So it's not just going to be me at all sitting here. It'll be me being the, if you will, the airport tower coordinator of planes, but we will have McKenna representatives on zoning. We'll have our legal representation, our engineers, and the experts in what they do for a living with access to you in a public forum.
Has there been any discussion at all about the price range for these homes?
That's not our,
I'm just
Well,
curious if
we're-
it got brought up in discussion or not.
no, it's all, our discussions are all focused on the technicalities of the infrastructure, sewer, water, streets, sidewalk sizes, ADA compliance. There's an issue of an exit on 22nd Street. That Street B doesn't comply with road commission expectations of 2 left turns. So could that be made into a turnaround there, or whatever the technical word, that then impacts the stormwater basin? But not on the dimension of the house. Lot sizes
Yeah.
have been discussed.
Okay.
What the price point of the homes are have not come up in any of our conversations.
Okay. Say that's Street B, there's a conflict?
Correct.
Okay.
So a left turn off of Street B heading north
Oh, okay.
is within too many feet of the left turn coming out of the neighborhood on the east side that you just see the entrance way. So you don't want two left-hand turns that close together that could turn into each other.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, next item is new municipal building, obviously coming along. Hopefully you've been able to see the exterior of the building. Some of the brickwork has been applied to the building. Inside is a lot of activity and going forward, so hopefully we'll have drywall all complete here in the next 8 to 10 days with priming beginning and moving forward on the next phase, which is if we, I guess, are in innings, we're probably in the top of the 6th inning out of 9 right now. So, but it is moving in totality. It's on the paper or tabletop exercise. It's about 21 days behind the schedule we had on tabletop, but with on-time delivery of building materials and that. Happy to report there's still a contingency left, so we're within our budget and moving forward, and looking forward to by the end of the year being moved into the new building. The one, pretty confident that's going to happen. The one variable right now is more than likely it's going to be a temporary parking lot with the final asphalt being applied in the spring of '24 due to weather. So.
If we want a little tour, do we just contact you?
Yeah, just give me a call and whatever day and time works best for you. If it's Monday through Friday, we'll make sure that we have people there to take you through.
Thanks.
Jim, I saw the article in the paper that came out. Did you make sure Mr. Ritzman knows that my name is spelled with a C, not a K?
He's watching YouTube right now, so you just told him. I will confirm with him
You know it.
tomorrow.
Okay, that's all.
Hopefully you heard that, Mr. Ritzma. Carl Keller, Keller.
No, that's all right. I just saw, I read the article and I looked at it. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Also, if hopefully you saw that on Prairie Street, the work on the bridge, just waiting for the cement to occur, and final railings to be put up. But nice to get that project behind us. So that was last week, and hopefully here in the next 2 weeks, it'll be cured enough that they can put those railings up. We did move the military banner presentation to October 2nd. Two things. One, in the last 2 or 3 meetings, we have brought citizens from our village who have impacted the village in a positive manner at the start of the council meeting. We anticipate that continuing. We have people coming in front of the council both on October 2nd and October 16th. But if the council members want to bring forward a name, please contact me and we'll find a meeting to appropriately recognize that individual or business or entity at the start of a council meeting. That's had a positive impact on our community. And I wanted to conclude, is there any questions on that? Or wanted to conclude with an initial review of the Berg Days of Summer, which was 9 days throughout June, July, and August. We did have 2 rain dates, so it's 9 days out of 11 potential weeks. And I'll give you some numbers, but I'm going to hand something out to document the event.
An elephant here? Oh. What the heck? You tell me you're looking up. With a K.
Thank you.
So all of you participated in these events. Before I forget, I have told you before, but our staff being Director of Finance, Police Chief, DPW Director, are participants in this meeting via YouTube. And Chief Sanderson wanted me to let the council know that actually the schools this year changed to what we just said. The buses come off Prairie Street and parents drop off via the VAB entrance exit point, and it's a lot less congested. Still a topic of conversation for the development that we talked about, but he did text me that information that wanted you to know that change has been made.
Yeah, Manager Mallory, I did, Trustee Fields reached out to me today and asked me that question. I told her that I've noticed this fall so far that the morning commute hasn't been quite as hectic getting out of my driveway, so I knew that something was going on, so.
Yeah, so he did want me, but as you can see, we wanted to document, so you have an opening letter from the village. And then I am gonna, because everyone, I believe, who experienced one or multiple Berg Day events, my number one takeaway was the young families with kids that participated in just the smiles and feelings of goodwill, if you will, happening on the streets of Vicksburg. In my professional life, I have never been contacted over a single series of anything in the amount that I have on these events taking place by people in government inquiring how it was done in that. So we wanted to capture it. The credit for all of this goes to my closest confidant in that, and one of the number one lobbyists for the village, and my wife Stephanie. So she took it upon herself to with the help of Randy Hartman and Randy Hartman Photography. He deserves a ton of credit. That throughout the 9 events, we really focused on capturing, and I believe you said earlier in the meeting, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So at 72 pages in this book, we have a lot, maybe 1 million words being spoken. So we provided a copy to the foundation. Met with the foundation last Thursday for a very positive conversation, but presented each of the foundation board members. They funded $20,000, and certainly appropriate. The council, in your support, matched that money, and could go on and on. But I'll leave some of the data. We're very confident that in excess of 30,000 people visited downtown Vicksburg over the 9-day period of time. Our social media interactions on the village of Vicksburg were in excess of 200,000 as it related to Berg Days, which, and again, so I think it was a home run. It took a lot of people and take another hour, and due to Christian's favorite team, Pittsburgh Steelers, playing tonight, I won't get into it, so you can get home and watch the game. But so I'll conclude with that. It was a good summer, and we move on to the next event, October 14th. So.
President Frisbee?
Yes.
Real quick, Jim, do you have an update? A couple months ago, we had the building authority person was here discussing the house on Prairie Street, and there was if memory serves, a September 15th deadline. Do you have any information on that?
Yeah, it wasn't met. There's a request from the property owner to extend it that I forwarded to the appropriate people to advise me on how to respond. And that was last Wednesday, and I haven't been in the office since then. So, and I know electronically I haven't received that advice. Tomorrow will be my first day back in the office, and that's on the agenda to get that answer. But property owner asked for an extension. And I have not replied to it till I get the advice from legal advice and housing advice.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Good question. I know that was probably on a lot of our minds. Was that it, Jim? You know,
That's it.
updates, thanks. Well done with these books, you know, it's so cool. It was such a tremendous success. It far exceeded, I guess had apprehensive, you know, what could go wrong, could have, should have, but everything was phenomenal. No incidents, law enforcement, I mean, just a great interaction. And I think it really brings it to home when all these kids were, that was the best thing about it with the families that were out there, you know, and the one family, she goes, you know, I know nobody's driving in here. They're not driving past that backhoe or that vac truck. They're not getting through. So my kids are running around on the street playing, and she goes, they're just very relaxing. Things to do with all the numerous, you know, entities and volunteers we have, the library being down there, the arts group was just a big, everything that I envisioned that it was and more. So kudos to the staff, yourself. Thank you very much. Yeah. So that'll run us into committee reports, and first on the list is tree, but if you want to talk about library report?
Well, I could. Yeah, it's probably a good idea to talk about library report. I know that we have had some problems with leaking roof and some cement problems, and Eric has worked really hard to try to get this solved, and he's still working on it. He has contacted several concrete people and doesn't seem to be able to get anybody. You know, these small jobs are really hard to get people to sign up for. And so, but he's working very hard at trying to get those solved. I think that we've got the leak problem solved now. There's a lot of wonderful things going on at the library. I mean, well, I have such a loud voice, doesn't really matter. But I'm very impressed with all of the people who are working at the library now. Everybody's doing a fabulous job. Especially Susan, I'm just really impressed with the things that you've done for that library. It's really made a big difference. And Laura too has been amazing. So I'm glad to be on that board because it does give me a better idea of what's really happening, and it's all been very positive. So tree committee right now, it's still the same. There's nothing new there.
All right. Well, to the library, kudos from a financial aspect. I mean, the funding and Eric's handling of the budget is very good. And I went out of my way the other day to tell him, you know, he's doing a great job, and just put it on record. Eric, you're doing a phenomenal job in the library. Thank you very
And
much.
he definitely is. And he's become even more outgoing with all of us that are working with him. And so I think he's really enjoying his job, and I'm hoping that he's wanting to stay with us, so,
Excellent.
yeah.
Thanks. So it takes us Parks and Rec.
So we did have a meeting. Hopefully, we have a new member that will bring us up to a full board again. We have 4 dates reserved for 2024 for movie nights. We are leaning into 3 kids' movies and trying something new, 1 grown-up date night movie. So those are already locked in. The dates are all set. We'll get into the details more once that we have the group all together and going into the fall, and looking forward to all of the fun things that we're talking about for 2024.
Thank you. And a quick update on cats. US 131, as they've already started it, but the lane shift from Schoolcraft to Three Rivers. M40, Lawton to Pawpaws, having a major rework done starting now. Current update to the Portage Road in I-94, they anticipate the end of September, all the lighting and infrastructure and everything will be done. One of the things that came up was the courthouse is delayed, and it's got a $1 million adder from price cost increases for the life when they cut the first contract to now. So it's a bit more than what they anticipated. Propertyfraudalert.com. This was something that several of the municipality and townships brought up. And recommended that we talk to about it, that it's becoming an issue with title frauds. And this that's a webpage, propertyfraudalert.com. You can go there and sign up and get, put your house into it, and you'll see if it's at any kind of risk or potential risk. But they were pretty adamant that that's a thing. In the Planning Commission, I think, real quick.
Meeting last week, there was nothing that we voted on, and really everything that Jim covered in his report was covered last week, and so there's really not much more to add.
And South County Sewer and Water. Several months ago, earlier in the summer, we agreed and passed the revision to the ordinance assigning associate membership. Schoolcraft still has not done that, so there's a little bit of a discussion in getting them to buy into the associate member component of it. But I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but Baker Tilly is working on the financial aspect of their rate increases. They know there's going to be rate increases. They're not going to give it to us until next October's meeting. But the board's agreed to consider future rate increases based on annual CIP and Portage cost analysis provided. So everyone's being impacted by the Kalamazoo wastewater treatment and the cost associated with doing business. So that was the one that jumped out big.
I just want to emphasize that does not impact Village of Vicksburg utility users, what you
right.
just said.
Yeah, thank you. Just for clarity, thank you very much, Jim. That's not the village. It is the South County Sewer and Water. It's a rural area of the sewer system.
Thank you.
Good clarification. You don't need those phone calls tonight. The South County Collaboration Project, of course, I spoke to it last time. The cost inflation, they're way more than they anticipated. The audit, their audit is 80% complete, so they said in our September board meeting next week, they'll give the presentation on the audit. So that pretty much updated the sewer and water. And who do I need jump to next? I covered it up. Fire.
President Frisbee, if I can jump in, because your comments made me think. I wanted, Trustee Holmes had contacted me a month ago, maybe. He must travel a lot, because I think he was in Muskegon during this vacation period. I do appreciate the text and these ideas because we plagiarize them, but he had saw a breakdown of the taxes in the municipality was at current, so he took a picture of that document and sent it. And we are going to send out in our next quarterly newsletter as well as electronically via text and emailing. But in the initial draft, taxes paid, the village is 23% of the total annual property tax bill someone receives tax from, and it will also go into the fact we hear, well, if I live in the village, I'm paying two taxes because township and village. If the village was a city and sent that tax bill out, it would contain everything that currently is in both minus the 0.75 mils that the township gets, which doesn't even probably pay for the assessing and elections that they run for us. But it's a breakdown of that. Trustee Holmes gets the credit, but we'll be sending that out here in the next newsletter that I think's in 2 weeks, going into how it divides. We've also included what the village tax is in a pie chart formula, what they actually go for in the village, because that's what a lot of people forget. Being a resident in one of the neighboring townships, you know, village residents have street lights, 24-hour, 7-day-a-week police protection. They have an infrastructure of water and sewer, and many, many, many positive things that outlying residents might not have. So you saying that, I wanted to bring in that this letter will be going out.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Rick.
Yep.
Fire, please.
Okay, we have a meeting Wednesday night. Obviously, everybody knows that we did move on the purchase of the new tanker truck, so I won't go back over that. We will be, I think, next month meeting, we're gonna be making our first major payment on that apparatus. And we'll be looking at other avenues, as far as getting a better interest rate, which I think I mentioned last time. We're still working, I know village staff is still working on the revised lease agreement for Station 2. I talked with Jim today about it, so that's still kind of in the works. I do appreciate the board accepting the audit tonight, so I can report to them that we've accepted it and good to go. The last thing I want to talk about, I don't know if all of you know or not, but the fire authority was granted $60,000 in grant money. Because we have 6 entities, so it was $10,000 per entity. That was the work of Chief McMullen and also our village manager, Jim Mallory. Jim kind of made a shoestring catch in the bottom of the 9th inning for us. So I want to say, to Chief McMullen, thank you for your work, but also to Manager Mallory, thank you for your work. Because without that and without your contacts, we wouldn't have gotten the amount that we got. We cannot use that towards the apparatus, but we can use it for items like new turnout gear and so forth. That money then we can allocate those funds towards the apparatus. So it will definitely help out. But I want this council to understand that our manager really stepped up over that weekend because the deadline, I think, was Monday, if I remember right. And he made some phone calls to some people in Lansing and got their ear. And with the help of the chief getting that grant put together, we were able to secure $60,000, which that's a big number. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
End of my report.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that. We don't want to take Jim for granted, but sometimes the shoestring catches he pulls off are pretty amazing, and that was one of them, so thank you very much. So that takes us to citizens' comments. For any comment you'd like to have, this would be the time to do it. Seeing none. We'll move on to trustees' time. I'll start with Trustee Fields.
Nothing tonight. We'll get Christian out of here for his football game.
I can see you after this.
Trustee Holmes.
I would just like to thank those trustees as well as Jim for reaching out to me at the passing of my mother. Your kind words, condolences, cards, phone calls, and those that attended services meant a lot. And at times like that, I realize it's difficult because we don't know what to say, we don't know what to do. But the fact that you were there meant a lot. It really did. And I miss her. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Trustee Olson.
I'll try and get through this quick. Susan, as you all know, I know a lot of librarians. I was married to one. I've always considered librarians the keepers and dispensers of knowledge. So kind of put that in the back of your head. The last Vicksburg Vintage Market was yesterday. We had good even flow all day, had good sales. Last two markets have been real good. We'll be submitting a new schedule for next season, so we're planning on continuing it. Tim brought up 131 down to Three Rivers. If you decide to travel that right now, you can do it at about 45 mile an hour. The big shock is going to be they took out all the traffic lights. So between Schoolcraft and the American Axle plant, they have taken out all the traffic lights. They're going to do the Detroit turns, which we have like up here by U Avenue. And that's going to be fun because right now, with the construction going on, you got to go 2 or 3 miles in order to make a turn to go back. So I-94 through Battle Creek, if you need to drive that, don't, especially at night. We had to make a run the other night and coming back, and if you want to take your life in your own hands, yeah, believe me, that's not fun. Shaver Road, right now, if you got to go to Walmart or Myers and that, don't. Starting right there, Oakland Drive, yeah, after Vanderbilt and that, they had traffic backed up to Myers this afternoon. I had to go over there on business, and that was fun. What takes you seconds to run now is like 8 to 10 minutes. So I talked earlier in the year about the St. Joseph County Bridge, the covered bridge in Centerville. They are beginning work on that. That is a $3.2 million project. If you go down there, you're better off to go the next road to the east, and then that'll take you right into Centerville. The plan is they're going to drop the water level on that river, which that's a big river. Yeah, they're going to drop it 3 feet. And they're going to replace the steel beams and the abutments on it, and they're hoping to have it completed by Christmas. That's going to be fun to see. But basically, it's been a great summer with the vintage market. I have 2 more shows to do, Allegan this weekend and St. Joe, Michigan, on October the 1st. And I am glad to see summer coming to an end, believe me. So, thank you.
Trustee Wagner.
No comments this evening. Thank you, President Frisbee.
Trustee Reister.
I want to invite everybody to come to Harvest Fest this weekend on September 24th, which is Sunday. We just had a meeting and everything is go. We're going to have a really wonderful time. And we were talking today, I brought up the fact that I think Berg Days of Summer are going to help us as far as the Harvest Festival is concerned. Because now that people have been drawn into Vicksburg, we're hoping that those same people will come to the Harvest Festival. So please think about doing that. It starts at 11 o'clock and goes until 4. So please come and see us. There's going to be a lot of food vendors and also other kinds of vendors. There are lots of things for children to do, so please come.
Thank you. President Pro Tem Keller.
I'd like to thank Jim for all his work on this from the Berg Days. This is awesome. I also want to thank Stephanie, your wife, and I know she took a lot of pictures. I can
All I
read
did is
lips.
bring them here.
I'm a salesman. I can read lips. I also want to thank the staff and DPW especially for everything they did at the Berg Days and the police and public safety. I know they busted their butts every night to get the town, safe for everybody, and then at the end of the night to tear it up. Coming home from a football game, though, a few weeks ago, it was kind of a pain in the neck that I'd drive all the way around to get home, but that's okay. I understood that. I'm looking forward to the Christmas in the Village this year because I will not only have my 2 grandkids from Midland, but I was informed that I will have my 2 other grandkids from North Carolina that will be soon Michigan residents. My son sold his house. He and his wife sold their house Saturday morning, first visit, first showing. So I'm flying down next month to help them drive back. So they will not be Vicksburg residents, unfortunately, but they will be close by. So you'll get to experience how we do things now, and I think they're going to very, very much enjoy it. So looking forward to showing them how Vicksburg is now. So thanks.
Good deal. So I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but but, I know it. Now, what, I was talking about South County Sewer and Water earlier. That's the only rate increase we discussed, but it doesn't affect the village. But I got an article of news from Indiana Michigan Power today. It was pretty exciting. I wanted to read it right away because they've entered in with a partnership to restart Palisades. And Cook, and the investment with them is tremendous. But they've gone to the, who's our policy, Public Service Commission, and they want to replace about 45 miles of power lines, hard-to-access areas, pursue federal grants, increase their technology reliability. But we're going to get hit with a pretty substantial cost increase of 9.67% over this $34 million rate increase that they've asked for. For a typical homeowner of $162.96, it'll jump to $177.90 for 1,000 kilowatts of electricity. So they are investing in the future. I get that. There's a lot of needs that we have, but it seems to always fall on the burden of the taxpayer and the residents to do that for them. But I just wanted y'all to be sure. I'm not quite. It's a 23, 24, so it might be proposed on our typical structure, so I would expect to be, they have to have the commission approve it, of course, but then we'll see it.
Consumers ask for the same thing.
Consumers is doing the same thing, We're not singled out, but just things, costs all around us are going up through the roof, and anything we can do to help reduce the burden on the taxpaying residents of the community is my drive and my focus, so that's where I speak from when I make my votes and my decisions. That's where it comes from, so just bear that in mind. Thanks again. We'll wrap it up pretty quick. I see him, he's probably tuning in to YouTube, already looking for the kickoff. But thank you all. We're back next month to two a month meetings, so we're back on that agenda, so the first and third. So with that, entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you all for your time.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. We got a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.